Thank you, Stephen, and thank you to the Foundation's board and the prize jurors for recognizing our work at PATH. I'd also like to thank Judy Miller and Shaheen Kasim-Laka from the Hilton Foundation staff who, through thoughtful engagement with us throughout the selection process, really helped us to understand more fully the impressive breadth of the Foundation's activities and the Hilton legacy. I'd like to thank Congressman McDermott for your recognition and greetings from all of us back home. Thank you, Sister Joyce, for your beautiful invocation. I'm honored to be in your distinguished company. And finally, Dr. Eunice, sharing this venue with you is truly humbling. Your work in bringing economic empowerment to the poor and your appreciation of technology's role in global health and development is an ongoing inspiration to all of us at PATH and to everyone here today. Earlier this month, the New York Times ran a story on a UNICEF report which noted that for the first time since UNICEF started measuring it, the mortality rate among children under 5 dropped below 9 million last year. For those of us familiar with the state of global health, the UNICEF's report of a continued decline over many years in child mortality was quite uplifting. It seemed for a moment like we should celebrate. But of course, the death of 8.8 million children is nothing to celebrate. Rather, that story, like today's prize celebration, provides an important moment for us to reflect on the progress we've made and then to redouble our efforts. The facts are that the global community's efforts to reduce health inequity have made great strides. The trends are encouraging, and we should take a measure of pride in that achievement. But meeting the Millennium Development Goals, the 4th Millennium Development Goal of a 2/3 reduction in child mortality by 2015 is still not a given. Meeting the 5th Millennium Development Goal of reducing maternal mortality by 75% seems more distant. And despite significant recent progress, the broad coverage of prevention and treatment programs that will be needed to reverse the course of epidemics like AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria is still not securely in our grasp. So while we note the metrics of progress, like in the New York Times piece, we also note that we're living at a time when most economies are at the nadir of a global recession that is wreaking untold havoc for the poor. A time when philanthropic entities are challenged as never before to redefine their roles and do even more with the resources at their disposal. A time when innovative approaches are required both for those who provide the dollars to help alleviate suffering and for those who put the dollars to use. So the question I want to pose for all of us today is this: what is it going to take to realize our goals for global health? How exactly are we to contribute effectively toward meeting Conrad Hilton's charge to alleviate human suffering? From where I stand as CEO of PATH, I think that realizing our goals requires 3 major ingredients. The first, and you heard about these this morning on the panels, those of you who are at the symposium. The first is innovation. The second is creative partnership. And the third is political and financial commitment. PATH's vision is of a world where innovation brings health within reach for everyone. You saw the video clip, and Stephen and Jim have talked about the vaccine vial monitors, which protect vaccines from heat damage through the cold chain. 2 decades ago, we found a promising indicator technology for monitoring temperature with a company that was making food-related monitors in New Jersey. With support from USAID, PATH formed a public-private partnership with this company and adapted their use for the technology for vaccines. To date, this very simple technology, which lets even semi-literate health workers know whether a vaccine's been spoiled, has been used in over 3 billion vials of vaccine. And as a consequence has reduced vaccine wastage and saved money, and more importantly, saved tens of thousands of lives. Our model suggests that UNICEF's requirement to use these vaccines, these monitors on every vaccine they use, will save another 140,000 lives in the next decade. But heat is not the only problem vaccines face in the fragile cold chain. Innovations are required throughout the system. Recently, we've documented that the newer and more expensive vaccines are actually perhaps even more vulnerable to freezing. And that's why we're working with a range of academic and biotechnology partners to test a variety of affordable thermostability, comprehensive thermostability approaches. The pace of innovation in science and technology globally continues to accelerate, and our experience at PATH shows that it can be harnessed to benefit all people regardless of where they're born. And so there's significant cause for optimism. But innovation alone, product innovation alone, is not enough. Introducing and scaling the use of new ideas as well as maximizing the use of existing tools requires creative partnerships. This year, PATH is involved in over 160 active collaborations. And I'd like to share with you just one example. Since 2001, we've worked closely with the World Health Organization on the meningitis vaccine project to take on the seasonal epidemics that threaten the lives of over 21 million people in sub-Saharan Africa every year. Through a partnership that includes the US Food and Drug Administration and the Serum Institute of India, the meningitis vaccine project has developed a vaccine specifically designed for the African epidemics at a guaranteed price of just 40 cents a dose. The regulatory file is currently under review in India, and once approved, the vaccine will be introduced next year in Burkina Faso, one of the most heavily affected countries. Then, with support from the Global Alliance for Vaccines and Immunization, the World Health Organization and UNICEF will lead the scale-up of the vaccine use throughout the rest of the sub-Saharan African meningitis belt. Epidemiological models show that once 80% of the under 30-year-old population is immunized, these annual epidemic cycles will stop. My broad point is this, that around the world, scalable public health projects are being realized through creative partnerships between NGOs like PATH, the private sector, UN agencies, regulatory bodies, national governments, and local communities. No one of those groups could do it on their own. And so as a consequence, the momentum is gathering for addressing some of the world's toughest global health problems. But sustaining that momentum will require political and financial commitments that are set for the long haul. Here, too, there is reason for cautious optimism. A recent article in The Lancet reported that development assistance for health has experienced roughly a fourfold increase since 1990. The increase was fueled by resources from wealthy nations, entrepreneurial philanthropy by institutions such as the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation, and the corporate sector. It has been complemented by the individual activism of millions of citizens through groups such as the One Campaign. These increased commitments have allowed us to scale up the pursuit of one of our most important goals, ending the scourge of malaria. This parasite kills 3,000 children a day, more than 1 million kids a year. We're working hard on the ultimate solution, a vaccine to protect children against the malaria parasite. But until we succeed in developing an effective vaccine, we're scaling up prevention with the tools currently at hand. Tools as simple as an insecticide-treated bed net can cut the incidence of malaria in half. Last year, with PATH's assistance, the government of Zambia's National Malaria Control Program distributed 500,000 of those nets. Next year, 3.4 million more will be distributed, reaching 80% coverage of the target population. Survey results have shown that since 2006, more people than ever are sleeping under bed nets. 2/3 of Zambian households are protected, and the prevalence of the malaria parasite among children has been reduced by 50%. Another study showed a significant decrease in mortality among children under the age of 5 since 2002. It took strong national leadership and a firm and sustained financial commitment from a variety of organizations, the Global Fund to fight AIDS, TB, and malaria, the US President's Malaria Initiative, the World Bank's Malaria Booster Program, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, to produce the results we see in Zambia and several other countries. In the short term, the US commitment appears to be continuing, with President Obama's recent announcement of a $63 billion global health initiative over the next 6 years. This is the type of leadership, sustained political and financial commitments for the long haul that will allow us to complete the work needed to reach our goals. So as we collectively stretch to end the preventable deaths of millions of young children, as we strengthen systems to ensure safe motherhood, and as we work to reverse the course of epidemic diseases, I personally believe that the next 5 years are the most critical ever in the global health field. With global health's arrival on the world stage comes the responsibility to deliver results on a whole new scale. Along with our partners and fueled by your recognition, PATH is eager to play our part. So I'm pleased to announce that we will commit the $1.5 million Hilton Humanitarian Prize to form the foundation of a new and innovative funding effort at PATH. We are currently actively securing commitments from our board and individual supporters so that over the next 5 years, this $1.5 million will be leveraged by another $25 million to accelerate the development of innovations in new health technologies, to increase our field operations, particularly in Africa where the Millennium Development Goals are lagging the furthest, and to scale up proven interventions in infectious disease and maternal and newborn health. From the opening video, I hope you got at least an inkling of the energy and commitment PATH employees bring to their jobs. You should have heard the buzz in the organization when the word got out that we had won the prize. There was sort of a crackling, electric sense of pride surging through the organization as these incredibly busy and devoted people took just a moment to reflect on a body of 32 years of work. This honor is for them, and I accept it on their behalf and thank them from the bottom of my heart. I also accept this honor with immense respect for the other nominees and profound admiration for the previous laureates whose ranks we are joining, and with a deep sense of responsibility for the spirit and intent of Conrad Hilton's award. The Hilton Humanitarian Prize will do many things. It will open new doors of opportunity for us, it will raise the profile of global health, and will allow us to expand PATH's ability to innovate, engage in creative partnerships, and harness the global financial and political commitment to deliver results. So once again, Stephen, thank you for this recognition and this prize. And let me close by thanking all of you. All of us have come here today to think about the challenging work inspired and invigorated by Conrad Hilton. Every one of us in this room is here today because of our dedication to the immense task at hand. And I'm genuinely thrilled to think about where we're going to be able to go next. What will it take to realize the promise of global health? It will take the very best that each and every one of us has to offer. Thank you.